Welcome in to another edition of Start Time. It's always a good time to talk Dallas Cowboys football, along with the former Cowboys quarterback Garrett Gilbert. I am Ari Temkin. I am super pumped for today's show because even though we don't have actual games to talk about, it feels like there's a ton to get to. Quinnen gets paid. Good deal, bad deal. Stephen Jones gives us a quote to Jory Epstein that makes it seem like this could be George Pickens' final go at the Cowboys. We'll see. And today was arguably the biggest day of all of training camp. We'll explain why coming up. Plus, in about 15 minutes, Nick Harris from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram will join us, break down his thoughts on the Rams-Cowboys joint practice that ended within the hour here. And Garrett, it's funny because it feels like we're living now like the rest of the NFL without video to watch practices from.
Yeah, I know. Makes me a little sad. I miss... although if there were fights, I feel like we'll get some video of that. But I do miss seeing videos of at least a few reps from out there.
Yeah, some of the early returns. We heard from John Machota that Jay Don Blue had a fumble, which for the camp that he's had and the problems and struggles that he's had holding onto the football could be problematic for the Cowboys. Also, from some other reporters on the ground, Terrence Steele got worked multiple times and not against Myles Garrett. So just some of the observations. Ezeraku had a sack as well.
There's some positive news.
Yeah, thank you. I knew there was one or two positive things there. But we'll dig deeper into this with Nick Harris, who was there, and will give us his insights into what happened during the joint practice stay with the Rams and Cowboys, gearing up for their preseason game this weekend. Crazy, we're in a game week here.
Yeah.
Let's start, though, with Quinnen Williams. Surprised, not surprised, Garrett. A 3-year extension to the 2-year deal that he was already working on. He's now signed until 2030, $105.9 million, with, if you count up the Jets and Cowboys guaranteed money, $101 million of the 109 guaranteed. This obviously means cap savings for the Cowboys. But yeah, Garrett, are you surprised by this news?
I'm really not. I mean, I think this has been in the works. If you take Jerry and Steven at their word, when we listened to training camp opening press conferences back, 10 days ago now, something like that, then, it seemed like that they were discussing this, actively discussing this and talking with Quinnen's agent. And so I think this was always going to get done. And I think if you're, again, we're going to talk about scheme fits a lot, just kind of a little foreshadowing, talking about, how it compares to Jalen Carter, who plays in the same defensive scheme. I think it's something that they felt like they had to do, and I think it was a good move for the Cowboys. Yeah,
I mean, Carter now remains the only interior defensive lineman making more money in the NFL than Quinnen Williams, but Quinnen got more guaranteed money. He got 101, not more guaranteed, a higher percentage of his total money guaranteed is the way I should say it. And Jeffrey Simmons now, who just signed, is at $35.27 million. So just a shade below.
Barely clipped him, huh?
Just barely got by him. But again, based on the money the Jets gave him on that deal that still has 2 years left, and the 3-year deal the Cowboys gave him with $64 million guaranteed, you're looking at $101 million guaranteed on $105 or $106 million. But here's the question: what are you paying him for?
Well, I mean, I think it's exactly what we just talked about. This is, just looking through Jalen Carter's stats from the past season, he's been the best defensive tackle in the league. I don't think you can find many people to argue with that. He had, he's averaged roughly 6 or 7 sacks. Last year only played 11 games, but, 6 or 7 sacks, 40-ish to 50 tackles, 15 to 20 QB hurries. Obviously, we can get into Quinnen's 2022 season wherein he was all world, had 12 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 28 quarterback hits, and was a first-team All-Pro, and found himself on the Defensive Player of the Year voting, which, is fairly rare for a defensive tackle, right?
Right.
To me, that is an absolute, just because the numbers have slid since then doesn't mean that the player has changed too much. I mean, it's like we've talked about a lot with this scheme, that the player that Quinnen is going to ask to be, he still very much is, and I think he can do it at a very, very high level.
Well, and that's why I asked the question, what are you expecting him to do with this money? Because you wonder if people now expect him to become a double-digit sack guy, and I think that's don't want to say false hope, but I think you're probably missing the reason why the Cowboys traded for him and then signed him to this extension.
100%. I think you're exactly right. I think, again, if I just went through those numbers, I think, and we had been talking about, the potential for Quinnen to lead the Cowboys in sacks. I don't think anybody thinks that would be a good thing if he does that, unless he touches those numbers that he got to in 2022. But if he does get to six or seven sacks, if he does get to, 40, 45 tackles and, get 15 to 20 tackles for loss, which again is just a fantastic year. But the main job that he's going to have, and Nick talked about this a lot last week, is he's going to gather two blockers on almost every run play and force those guys to stay on him for much longer and give those linebackers the freedom to run and do what they do best. And I think that's where that value is not going to show up on the stat sheet. That's where he's at his best. And again, that's what he's going to be asked to do in this scheme, because make no mistake about it, they're going to play two safety. They're going to play split safety, two safety defense, and the linebackers are going to have the freedom to run if the Cowboys want to be successful against the run. So I think that is what you're paying him for. It's stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to say like they traded for this guy and signed him to an extension for scheme fit, but I think you have to look at it that way and be okay with that, because he is one of the elite defensive players in the league without elite stats to back it up. The Cowboys under Christian Parker want to play nickel. They want to play with extra corners and safeties on the field that can cover. You can't do that if you can't stop the run
with six guys. 100%. I think that's exactly right. That hits the nail on the head. And I think that Quinnen, along with Kenny Clark, are going to be able to be those stalwarts inside that do that job excellently. Again, I don't expect. In fact, I mean, it would be absurd for him to get back to 12 sacks, 12 tackles. I've been playing this game 20-0 on my phone. Have you seen that one yet?
So good.
Yeah, if you see those numbers, you smash. That's the defensive tackle you want right now. There's probably not many better statistical seasons in the NFL history. So
that's where you try to put together a team of players to get you to 20-0.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So. Poor explanation there on my part, but that guy's on the team every time, and I just think that's unrealistic to expect. But I don't think that just because he can't get to those numbers, that the production and doing his job, as Bill Belichick would say, do your job, do his job at the highest level possible is not out of the question. And I think that again, I think Jalen Carter is and has been the best defensive tackle in the NFL over the past couple of years. Quinnen is very close behind.
Here's the other thing, too, just from a dollars and cents standpoint. Will Anderson just signed a $50 million per year deal. Micah Parsons is at 46.5. TJ Watt at 41. Myles Garrett at 40. So Quinnen Williams at 35.3 is roughly 70% of Will Anderson's total. Now, I get it. Anderson's a big-time sack player, one of the best defensive players in the league. So is Micah. But I guess what I'm saying is Quinnen's impact, though not maybe statistically felt as significantly as Micah or Will Anderson, like it feels like the Cowboys building inside out in their line is a more financially and fiscally responsible way to do it. And if you're a Cowboy fan, you might be laughing at that. Right, roll your eyes at that. But it's almost in some ways like we can get similar production without as much of the jump out of the gym type stats that you're looking for that Will Anderson and Micah Parsons brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to keep going back to this, but I'm going to keep going back to the Eagles scheme. They were absolutely phenomenal at creating pressure last year without a world-class pass rusher, like we just mentioned. They didn't have a guy who was going to get to 18 or even sniff 18 to 20 sacks, but they were able to create the most pressure in the NFL. And I think a lot of that is due to their interior defensive linemen.
What about the Seahawks?
Very same exact boat, right? Make no mistake about it. Pass blocking in the NFL is simply about losing slowly. And if you're one-on-one, eventually you're going to get there. So if Ezeraku can take that next step, if some of those other guys on the edge can do the same, then what Quinnen and Kenny can do on the inside is very, very important. And I think there's no question about the fact that Quinnen Williams is the anchor to that.
Yeah, well said. And we talk so much about Quinnen, but Kenny Clark, I mean, that dude, the Cowboys have one of the best 1-2 punches in the interior of the defensive line in the NFL. And when you look at some of the best teams like the Eagles, like the Seahawks defensively, that's how they're built too. And it's not a coincidence here. Christian Parker comes in and he prioritizes interior defensive linemen.
That's exactly what they want to do. And then you get, and obviously I mentioned Azaraku, you get Rashawn Gary to get 8 or 9 sacks, and now you're nearing the total where you want to be as a team who successfully gets after the passer. So I do think that I do think ultimately, a lot of talk here, but I think ultimately this is a good and smart move, and obviously, not even to get into the salary cap implications that it has, saves them some money in the short term. And, I can't pretend like I understand the cap any further than that. But
just remember, you don't have to understand the cap. Just know there's always money in the banana stand.
Yeah.
You can always kick the can down the road. Don't
100%.
Listen to anybody that says you can't, because you can, because the NFL and its television deal is continually increasing. At some point in the future, if the NFL deal goes down, if television's paying less for the product, then you might have to worry about kicking the can down the road. But everything we've seen, everything continues.
I saw it. This is relatively unrelated, but I saw a tweet earlier today. Hall of Fame game had 7 million viewers. More than any Major League Baseball game to date this year, which is not surprising at all, but more than any NHL game from last year, including the entirety of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, the
Hall of Fame game.
You're right. It's not going anywhere.
The Hall of Fame game.
People are excited. People
it's
are excited.
Barely football.
People are excited to have meaningless football back. It's not meaningless for some people, by the way.
True. That's fair. It's meaningless. It's not meaningless for a bunch of guys that are trying to earn jobs, and then there's some guys that left college, part of the 2022 class, that thought they exhausted their eligibility, that may be heading back from training camp now to college.
We don't need to get into that portion of it. Unbelievable.
That's an insane story. All right, Nick Harris will join us coming up as we continue on Star Time today. We've got a lot to break down because I think, Garrett, that today's training camp practice, the one today, is arguably the most important day of all of training camp, including every preseason game for the Cowboys, because we know, Brian Schottenheimer has told us, that the Cowboys are going to be resting the majority of their starters, if not all of their starters, through every preseason game.
Yep.
And so this joint practice, the Rams today, the one next week with the Saints, will be the only look of actual quote-unquote live game action we're going to get from any of these guys, especially this front seven on defense against real other NFL teams. We're not going to see the front seven, a brand new front seven virtually, and a brand new defense. We're not going to see them at all in the preseason. This is the only chance we're going to get to see them in actual quote-unquote live game action.
I am very interested to hear what Nick has to say when he joins, and I think these joint practices have absolutely taken off. So I was a rookie in 2014. We had 0. Now, that may have been a Jeff Fisher deal because I know there were teams doing them, but it feels like every team is having multiple joint practices now this year. And then,
it's very common to do it with the team you're playing in the preseason that week.
And then in lieu of that, they're not playing those starters in the preseason games almost at all. And I think, the reason for that is the coaches feel like they have a little more control. Guys that are going to be big parts of teams are not going to the ground. I think most of the guys, by that point, if you're a starter in the NFL, not including some absurd clips I've seen from Chiefs camp and Bengals camp this year, you understand how to take care of your teammates and guys you're playing against. Otherwise, there's going to be a fight and practice is going to be over with. But those guys understand how to practice and do things the right way. And so I think the coaches feel like they have a little more control when they can say, hey, we're going to get live reps, but we're not going to the ground. We're going to get good on good for 30 reps today. And that has really taken the place of preseason football, where you used to see, starters playing up to I think when I first started, the third game was sort of the dress rehearsal, right? And the starters would almost play up to a half to get ready to go. Well, now that's gone. That's almost completely gone.
Do you think they need live game reps in a preseason setting, or do you think that the way that teams have now reverse engineered it to a degree are taking the right approach?
I really don't. I think part of it is that I think that they don't need the live game reps. They're getting plenty of them in practice, and then they're getting the joint practices now where you get, you take that one step further. You're playing against an unfamiliar opponent. You're getting live reps of, call them unscouted looks, stuff that's going to prepare you for the regular season. The other side of this is practices have gotten, or the other note here is practices have gotten a whole lot shorter. Even in, training camp has gotten shorter, practices have gotten shorter. So what you do get is younger guys and guys that are a little bit lower on the roster getting real meaningful reps in game that they may not get in practice anymore because those practices are shorter and they're more monitored. So I think that's another thing that's that coaches have probably taken to is they're able to get some more live action reps for guys that maybe they want to get an extra look at. And then we're not going to. I guess we'll call a spade here, that they're more expendable than the starters. So they can stand to be out there and running down the field and covering a kickoff or playing an extra set of reps on defense during the preseason game. So I think that's two reasons probably why the coaches have done it. But most important is they feel like they can control their ones not going to the ground as much as possible. And
I think as much as we could sit here and say oh, do they need those live game reps before the season starts? Will it make them rusty, right? I know if a guy plays football, there's a chance he can get hurt. I don't
100%.
know how to measure whether or not you play in that game or not, if it helps you in the regular season. We could sit here and say that it matters, but I don't know how to measure that. Yeah. I do know how to measure an injury, though.
100. I mean, it's impossible to gauge, right?
It's impossible to gauge. So based on that, I don't know if there's actual value to them playing games. I'm not playing them.
I know that there's value to them not being out there.
Right. I know that there's value to them not being out there.
You're exactly right. If there is a little rust week one, so be it. But I do think, again, that's why these joint practices are taking off. And you hit on this. I'm, again, super excited to hear from Nick. But these are the two most important practices of the preseason, because this is when things are flying. And of course you get that every day when, Dak and the one offense is going against the one defense. But by this point in camp, it's been 2 weeks. Sure, there's still some more install stuff going on, but they know every single look that those guys are giving them. They're, everything that the Cowboys offense fools the Cowboys defense on is some sort of wrinkle that they added in just to beat the defense in camp. And every single blitz that the Cowboys defense gets home on is some sort of wrinkle that they added that may not be as sound as they should be playing, but they want to have some success in camp. So to get these real life looks is you can't second that. You can't beat that experience.
All right, Nick Harris will join us out from California to talk about Rams and Cowboys joint practice in a moment. But first, get away to it all at Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant, just 90 miles north of Dallas on Highway 75. And we've been talking about it all summer. 3 months, 3 millionaires. You can see it on screen now. The final drawing is on August 22nd. So make sure to play at Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant and sign up for the Rewards Club and play away. You could become a millionaire on August 22nd. Choctaw has made 3 Rewards Club members millionaires all summer, 1 in June, 1 July, and 1 in August. One more chance. That's August 22nd. Plus, you want to check out the great concerts, Comedy X at Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant, Kane Brown, Eric Church, Lenny Kravitz on September 18th, comedian Matt Rife on September 26th and 27th. Matchbox 20 is this weekend. Travis Tritt and John Mulaney in October, November. Loaded up with great guests, acts at Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant, just 90 miles north of Dallas on Highway 75. All right, let's welcome in Nick Harris, our friend here from Haymaker, and as well as the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Nick, I like the seatbelt. Looking good, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. John Machota of The Athletic is my personal driver for the moment. And so we are rolling back from Cowboys-Rams joint practice.
So for both of you, did you have to leave your phone in the car just out of fear of filming practice? Because you guys are both very used to filming many of the plays in practice. Were there times where you got your phone out, you're like, oh wait, no, I can't do that?
There was one point where I pulled my phone out right before the start of a team period because I'm just used to it, and I was like, "Oh shit, they're gonna kick me down if I do this." So yeah, a couple of instincts, but it's been good because we've been able to really focus on practice, play by play, and it was a good time out there.
This is the only time I've ever been in a practice where I was like, "Okay, wrap this thing up, we're done here," just because I wanted the opportunity to take video, and since we couldn't take video, I really didn't need to see the full 2 hours. I was good after an hour. We had enough to write about after that. But.
That's amazing. I mean, you guys got to see for a little bit how the rest of the NFL lives.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so give us both of your observations from camp. I know we saw Azaraku had a sack, Blue had a fumble, Terrence Steele got worked. You can add some color and context to those 3 points.
Yeah, I will start with I spent the entire practice on the defensive side of the ball, so I'll start off with the highlights on that side. Donovan Ezaraku got active early with a sack and a tackle.
Man, they're in like Southern California. You'd think service would be pretty good in Southern California, you know?
Quentin Williams was probably the most multiple tackles. We back?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good now.
Tell John to speed on the 101 so you can get back to Oxnard.
Quentin Williams had a couple of tackles for loss and a sack. He was probably the most consistent guy throughout the day. Savone Revel was throwing his physicality around. I thought that was a really important note for the development of the secondary. He had a pass breakup on a deep ball to Puka Nacua at one point. Later in the practice, they tried a slot fade to Puka, and Revel knocked that one away too. He still gave up some plays, especially in the short to intermediate stuff. I think he's still figuring out the off-coverage responsibilities, but I think this was his best day of camp, and I feel like we've said that 2 or 3 times. So he's continuously getting better. And then the linebackers were all over the place. DeMarvion Overshone, Deep Winters had a couple of tackles for loss on my play-by-play log. And then Justin Barron, second-year undrafted linebacker who only played in 1 game last year, had 3 interceptions today, 1 on Matthew Stafford and 2 on Stetson Bennett. So that was pretty good note. But, you know, if you're looking for the down parts of the defense, Devontae Adams, he was working Deron Bland pretty well, had a couple of big plays. Terrence Ferguson had a wheel route that he lost Donovan Ezaraku and drop coverage on, and then he had a deep crosser, and it looked like Caleb Downs was kind of missing some zone responsibilities on the back end. We saw more downs and safety looks today because Malik Hooker was still out. And so whenever that was happening, Kobe Durant was in the slot and Revel was on the outside. And so I think Downs getting those reps back at the deep safety spot was probably, you know, having to take on some responsibilities he hasn't been used to so far in camp. That was the one time it was really glaring, but Downs still had good plays too. There was one where he shot a run gap and had a tackle for loss that was at least for negative 3 yards. And from my vantage point, overall, really good day for the defense. Stafford went 22 of 33. A few of those incompletions came late.
Got to push through here. Getting great insight here.
Got it.
Justin Barron with 3 interceptions.
What a day.
Let's not overreact to that at all.
No. What a day.
1 off of Stafford.
That's a camp maker. 2 off Bennett. I mean, it seems like there were a decent amount of highlights. I'll be real curious to hear some more, but it seems like there were a decent amount of highlights from guys, and I'm again, as we've touched on a ton already today. This is going to be the best day of camp practice for them. Going against the prohibitive Super Bowl favorites makes it even as stiff a test as it's going to get in camp. But it seems like they were able to relatively hold their own. It's a little hard because, of course, big plays, refs blow the whistle. You don't know if guys are going to finish for touchdowns, but sounds like Quentin Williams celebrated his contract extension with a big day, and
and the defense, like, this is the perfect offense to test this defense against, because it's obviously one of the most brilliant offensive minds in football, but it's also a guy that runs more 13 personnel than anybody else.
Yeah.
That's 1 running back and 3 tight ends, right? So they go heavy personnel. They want to run and show you run looks a lot. So for me, like, there's probably no better, because Christian Parker's defense has
back.
We got Nick back, boys.
All right, perfect. Nick is back. But because Christian Parker's defense only went up against the Cowboys' offense, this is the perfect offense to go up against to really get a gauge of this defense. All right, Nick, you want to finish your thoughts? We heard Justin Barron with 3 interceptions, and you were talking about the defense really showing up.
Yeah, I would just wrap it up with saying that the defense really held their own today. Stafford still had some wins, and the Rams offense battled. They had big plays, but overall, the defense, if you compared it to this time last year, DeMarvion Overshone put it perfectly afterward. He said that offense had a field day on us last year. This year, it's a little bit different.
Well, and the one thing we were just talking about is this is the perfect offense to go to test Christian Parker's defense against, because, they run heavy 13 personnel. They're like, again, they're a show you a run look kind of offense. So it's a brilliant offensive mind against a guy that we think is a brilliant defensive mind, and it's testing the Cowboys in the same ways that they're going to be tested by other teams all year in terms of heavy personnel to try to account for the lighter boxes that the Cowboys are going to consistently show.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think you saw that throughout the time of the practice today. And they threw some multiple different guys out there and trusted them with different opportunities, whether it be Shamar James getting more looks since Jay Sean Barham was on the sideline, or Caleb Downs getting more looks at safety with Malik Hooker on the sideline. Overall, you saw a lot of guys get involved.
Speaking of those heavy looks that the Rams provide, Nick, did you notice any? I mean, obviously Caleb was playing safety. Did they actually line? I know we talked about a lot that, we think they're going to favor nickel this year. Did they line up at all in a true base defense?
Good question.
Where 3 linebackers are on the field, to counter those 13 personnel looks?
Yeah, nickel is base, and they didn't throw any 13 personnel looks at them. Both of them kept their base concepts mostly throughout the practice. The Rams mostly ran a lot of short game stuff, and so you saw the nickel on the field 95% of the time, and the one time that it wasn't, they would throw an extra D lineman in there for heavy packages. But you didn't see three linebackers at any points in my eyes.
Okay, interesting.
So no notes on the offense, huh?
Well, so I spent all the time.
Assuming he's saying he spent all the time focused on the defense.
See if John can provide us with anything if he gets back.
Yeah.
I do think it. I mean, I think that's probably what.
We're just like
defensive side. On the offensive side, I played myself. Shoot. Oh my God, this is awful.
We got your back, Nick.
You got me?
Keep pushing.
All right,
through.
let's go.
Keep pushing through.
Yeah, we're going through mountains right now, so blame that. No, on the offensive side, I just kind of resorted to trusted eyes I had on that side of the ball, and I saw a few plays myself. George Pickens had a big day. He was going up mainly against Emmanuel Forbes in clips that I saw, and talking with some other people. Tyler Guyton was the biggest thing I was concerned about, though, and apparently he held his own and did well against that defensive front for the Rams. Myles Garrett did not practice, so that's kind of an asterisk, I guess you could say, at the end of the day. But Byron Young was working Terrence Steele pretty good. Terrence Steele finally settled in later in practice during the 2-minute work. But overall, it sounded like Byron Young got the best of Terrence Steele. Kavontae Turpin had a red zone touchdown. CeeDee Lamb had a couple red zone touchdowns. And Brevin Spanford had a red zone touchdown. But in 2-minute drill, overall, the Cowboys didn't perform well other than Terrence Steele. That's now the second practice in a row that's happened. I don't know if that's a concern necessarily, but something to watch. But George Pickens and Javonte Williams is another one that I heard had big days on the offensive side. Jaden Blue had a fumble early on after getting a lot of carries, so another note there. But those were the big points that I caught from the offensive side of the ball.
So we've spent a lot of time talking left tackle and concerns there. I don't know that we've spent enough time talking about Steele, and I read from people at practice kind of what you echoed, that he got worked and it wasn't Myles Garrett doing the working. How concerned are you about Steele? And is it just the strength? Is it the play strength? Is that the issue here?
I think Steele, what that product is. He's going into year 7 now, I believe, and he's going to have bad games in pass protection. But it's the run blocking that they feel is consistent, and that's why he's kept his job. And he also, I was talking about this with Nate Newton right before practice, and specifically about Terrence Steele, is when he has a bad play or a bad moment, he doesn't let the mentality kind of let him stack bad reps. It's just more so, okay, if it's Byron Young and he's catching him inside, then he'll catch him outside. But you won't see Terrence Steele get down and sulk and, go back into another play mentally not there. And I think that's a big reason why they're continuing to trust him year after year. And then again, as well as the run blocking efforts that he's throwing out there.
All right, well, Nick, I guess before I let you go, what are your thoughts on the Quinnen Williams deal?
Yeah, I think it's great business. If you look at the total deal in combination with the 2 years,
push through, Nick. Do it. You've got great info
that he has left, and the 3 on top. Left and the 3. I think. God. You got me. Test. We got me.
You're back now.
Let's go.
We're
good.
Yeah,
We're
I
good?
think so. Yeah.
His mouth is catching up.
Okay. I think it's great business at the end of the day. You combine the 2 years he has left with the 3 years on top. It comes out to about $30.5 million per year. It allows them to look at some ways to add to the roster right now, as well as help facilitate what it
All right.
may look like like for a George pick.
I think he said exactly what we were saying.
Yes.
More succinctly. So we can basically just that smart guy agrees with us. I think that's the takeaway there.
Well, and you know, the big piece I think that he was touching on there at the end is, I mean, this is salary cap relief amongst above everything else. Like now you've got, and we don't know exactly what the number is in terms of open salary cap for this year, but you've got, you know, anywhere between, let's say 10, 15, 16 million now as opposed to just the 5 that you had before.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it puts you in play for Max Crosby.
That's where my mind went. But, you know.
What about Bobby Wagner? I mean, and Von Miller? I mean, and somebody?
Throw them all out there.
Throw them all out there.
Just throw offers at them all. No, I'm with you. I think it's, I think that was a good thing to hit on that we didn't touch on a ton is, does it open up some more money for a more immediate move next? As for his takeaways from practice, obviously Pickens had a good day. I would have been curious to know where Trent McDuffie was playing relative to CD. My guess is everything was kept basic on both sides of the ball. But overall, sounds like an interesting day. I still think, I mean, obviously this is going to be a question because we're not going to get to see anything. It's going to be a question up until game 1 is which 5 are the best 5? Which group of 5? Obviously, Terrence Steele, it seems like his takeaways are that Terrence Steele is not in danger of losing his job, but how long is that leash if, in fact, the pass protection struggles continue? Because we have to figure, unless something changes, there's probably going to be a little bit of struggles on the left side. And if you can't shore up one side, what do you do?
I mean, this is the best 5 conversation again, but if it's really best 5, I mean, does that mean moving Tyler Smith? Does that, does that mean moving Guyton? Does it mean bringing somebody else from off the bench in? I like the idea of the best 5. I don't think that the Cowboys are actually going to go with that because I think they want the best 5 at each spot. And like Tyler Smith is really good at his spot. Yeah. So moving him means he might not be as effective at a tackle position as he is at guard.
Yeah.
But he's certainly the best of the 5. And do you play him at the most important position, or do you say, well, he's the best interior guy, he's the best interior lineman in the league, we got to keep him there?
Well, as you said, I mean, if we're going to get rash decisions or any kind of any kind of changes, it's going to come after a practice like this or a practice like New Orleans, because at that point after the New Orleans game, there's 2 weeks till opening day. So
you're saying this film is the most valuable film Cowboys 100%. Coaches will look at.
I think they're going to dive into this as if it were a preseason game because it basically was a preseason game. I mean, Stafford threw 33 passes. That's basically a Sunday afternoon, right? Now, again, it's in controlled action, and my guess is they weren't running quite as many reps, but this is as definitive a film as you're going to get during the course of camp. So if things are going to change, and again, there's potentially stuff that we haven't seen that, in walkthroughs, maybe they're slipping some of those guys in at other places just to see. But if there will be changes, I think it'll be after something like this.
All right. So we just heard from Nick Harris, along with John Machota on the road, heading back from Rams camp in Los Angeles down to Oxnard, California, for back to Cowboys camp. But one of the big takeaways, I'm sure, for Cowboys fans is they couldn't consume Cowboys content videos on social media as they normally can during practices, which is something that Christian Parker recently talked about on 105.3 The Fan. Quote, when you're in week 1 or week 2, you're looking for things. So actually, I don't know if people realize this. I was following some of our media members and stuff even before I got to the Cowboys, because when I was in Green Bay and Denver and Philadelphia, I've played Dallas in all 3 spots. Us kind of trying to look for things, end quote. So he didn't want to share too much.
Well, I'd be curious what he found. At that point, what is it, I'd be curious what exactly it is that he found, because my whole thing here is, I know I'll let you get to the Schottenheimer quote that was, sort of a rebuttal to that. But I'd be curious what he actually found, because every staff is doing this, and every staff is pouring into, even during the season, they're pouring into the open portion of the media, the open portion of practice on a Wednesday to see who has a different colored jersey on. It might be limited, or to see who's filling in for somebody at in certain personnels. And so every staff is diving into this stuff. And I think Schottenheimer's right. I'll let you get to the quote. But so I would be curious what he found.
Well, here's the other thing that he said, and this is sort of speaking to what you just talked about. Christian Parker, quote, a lot of it's not even training camp stuff. It's injury reports, who is out there, who wasn't, the normal job. Sometimes you can find some things. I won't tell all the stories, but there have been some things I've found along the way.
Okay. Well, I guess he's going to keep that.
But
to
personnel
himself.
injuries, the same stuff you're talking about.
You can certainly gather some stuff. I sort of, and I'll just read this Schottenheimer quote.
Yeah, there you
we
go.
all have each other's playbooks. We all know what we run. We have videos going back decades that we can pull up. Are there things you can get? Yeah, but we can get the same thing. And I sort of fall on that side of things. I always wondered when I was in college, why are college teams so paranoid about letting people out to practice, and the NFL's like they're out at training camp and they're like, come on out, everybody have a good time. Now, of course, that was the days that there
Pre-social.
there wasn't nearly. Twitter was around, but it wasn't. I'm not that old. There was still social media, but there wasn't nearly as much, right? And so I do think that there may be something to that, and maybe that's why the NFL teams are cracking down on it. I just don't. I've certainly been places where on a Wednesday afternoon or a Thursday morning we go into a walkthrough and. My coaches may or may not have said, hey, just so you guys know, we noticed something yesterday during the open portion of practice. Let's be ready for this blitz, or let's be ready for this guy to step in. But again, every staff's getting in, and I think it's kind of just part of the game. Like the media is a huge portion of why the NFL is so big. So at some point, you just got to bite the bullet and say, we're either going to be really careful when they're out there, or are you going to shut them completely out? I don't know that there's any in between, and Nick kind of hit on that. It was they were all ready for practice to be over after 60 minutes.
Well, and like in covering the NFL and college football as long as I have, you start to see like, okay, some of these position battles that were breaking down and get into the nitty gritty and waiting for that final 53 to be released, like 3 weeks into the season, so much of that goes out the window.
Yeah.
Like we there's so much to talk about in the lead up to the season. Once the season starts, though, like injuries, like teams grow, they ebb and flow, they change. 17 weeks is a long time. 12 weeks in college is a long time. Teams change a lot over the course of the season. And ultimately, like, you're going to play week 1, you're going to show some stuff on film.
Yeah.
You're going to play week 2, you're showing stuff on film.
Yeah, and if you don't think the Rams...
I'm with you, like, and I'm with Shoddy. Like, teams are routinely... paranoid to the point of not allowing for the practice of film practices, but like ultimately a lot of it's just noise.
So I'll take you back to my first year in 2021. I was here in camp, got released. I was up in New England on the practice squad for week 1, and we're playing Miami. And Brian Flores decided to completely change anything that we had ever seen from him on tape. It was Mac Jones' first start ever, and he played this bastardized version of cover 2, like, 75% of the snaps. And it completely flummoxed Mac, and it completely flummoxed our offense, and we couldn't do anything against it. And by the way, media was out there plenty during training camp. They didn't catch one single thing that this was going to be Brian Flores. All things have done is just gotten more and more restricted since then. So, I mean, yes, there's probably things you can glean, but we had no clue. And I can promise you, if there had been, the Patriots coaching staff would have found it, knowing their history, right? So, I think it's a little bit overblown.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and again, like, did the Dolphins make the playoffs that year? Were they a good team that year? Or did they just have a good game plan week 1 and then teams saw what they're doing and then adjusted offensively to what they were doing?
Borderline playoff team.
Okay.
I don't think they made it, but they were. But it was just for the Patriots. They went back to Brian. They went back to his blitz zero, all the stuff
linebackers and coverage,
all the
middle.
stuff that he's done with the Vikings after that game. It was just like, we're going to show this rookie quarterback something he's never seen before, and it was extremely successful. All
right, so Christian Parker doesn't like filming in training camp, says there's extra things that I've picked up in my years in playing against the Cowboys that I don't want other teams to pick up. But you and I agree that there might be things that teams could pick up, but ultimately the season is 17 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're going to put a lot of stuff on film, and you're going to have a lot of injuries, and guys are going to be in and out of the lineup, and there's so much that changes that any information you glean in training camp may be helpful in week 1 or week 2, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 doesn't matter at all.
There may be new wrinkles, and you may see something from a defensive coordinator that they haven't done for weeks or years, but it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there.
All right. one of the things I wanted to get to is Jory Epstein, who's done a great job in reporting on the NFL. She's from the Dallas area and has reported on the Cowboys locally, so she's got great sourcing with the Cowboys organization. She talked with Stephen Jones about signing George Pickens, and could that, could signing Quinnen, and this came out before the Quinnen deal, take them away from signing George Pickens? Some really interesting stuff that Jory got about what Lamb, Dak, and Quinnen's money means for Pickens. We'll get into that next with Law Nation, who will join us. You are watching us on the Haymaker Network, and this is Star Time, where it's always a great time to be talking Cowboys. Before we get to Law and we get to Stephen Jones's comments on George Pickens, first this.
We've already made someone a millionaire this summer, and you could be next. 2 more Lucky Rewards Club members will win $1 million during the 3 months 3 Millionaires giveaway at Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant. Which means there's 2 more chances for it to be you, with drawings on July 11th and August 22nd. Your $1 million moment is waiting. Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant, where millionaires are made.
All right, welcome back. Law Nation in the house. What's up, Law? You're back from Oxnard?
Yes, indeed, man. I'm back, man, and I'm glad to be back, man, to see all of this great stuff. It's a great time to be on Star Time. Let's get it.
Yeah, all right. So I want to get your thoughts on the Jory Epstein article and Stephen Jones's comments about George Pickens. But first, let's get your thoughts on Quinnen Williams.
Oh, man, I think that you build around Quinnen Williams, and this is a great start. He's here for another 3 to maybe 4 years. You can argue 5 now, So I think that building around Quinnen Williams would be a great thing, and the Cowboys did a great thing about paying him and getting things going.
What are you expecting for that money? Are you expecting him to be a double-digit sack guy?
No. I'm expecting him to be a leader of this team, to stop the run, and to continue to do just what he do, 6 or 7 sacks a season, and being that enforcer. And on top of that, free enough spaces so that your linebackers can get that work action going. Just like what we've seen out of Barron this camp practice today. I heard that he had 3 INTs, so that comes from up front.
Yeah, no, and the one thing that Law just said, Garrett, that we didn't really hit on is the locker room leadership piece.
Yeah.
Jason Garrett used to call them RKGs, the right kind of guys. And we used to laugh at that. But I mean, I think his consistency, his approach, the way he prepares, those are things that people will follow. And I think it's one of the more underrated aspects of the re-signing here is we could look at the scheme fit, we can look at everything that he unlocks for the Cowboys defensively, but ultimately it's leadership. To me, that they don't. He's like a Dak Prescott type on defense. Right. They haven't had that kind.
Yeah, I mean, RKG sounds like a Ted Lasso, Lassoism, doesn't it?
Probably stole it from Jason Garrett.
He might have.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I think that's a great point, Law. I think it's hard for me to say, specifically what he brings to the locker room, but all reports have been extremely positive, and I think that's obviously a glowing review there from Ari that he's always been. A fun guy to listen to in interviews with the media. So I think you bring up a great point, Law, as far as what he brings off the field in addition to what he can do within the scheme of that defense.
All right, Law, I'm assuming you checked out Jory Epstein's article for Yahoo on Stephen Jones and signing Pickens when he's paid Lamb, even talking up the Quinnen Williams signing, even though he hadn't signed by the time this was released. That was a part of this too. What are your takeaways from that piece?
We got more money now. We were sitting right at $5.4 million before this signing, and I heard that it freed up $15 million, so that put us north of 20. And with $20 million, you can play around with it. And if you go ahead and extend Pickens somewhere during the middle of this season, I don't know if that's going to help out the overall cap, but I think it will. I know it's $28 million going away from the cap. It's a hard cap hit when a player is playing under the franchise, but they can still negotiate a deal and get something done. And now you can solidify GP as well as what we got out of Quinnen Williams. This could be a slam dunk for the Cowboys and showcase that we are moving differently.
Well, and I appreciate that sentiment, Law, but I don't know. I almost took it like I don't know how interested they are in re-signing Pickens. And maybe I'm reading too much into this quote, but the quote from Steven that Jory got is I'd say the two of them did pretty damn good. Would you take that again? Hell yeah, you would. But can they be better? I think they can. And the good news is it's not like we're naked without them. And then Epstein referenced Ferguson, Flanoy, and Javonte Williams, which can't be random mentions of those three players. So I don't know. I hear that. And Garrett, like, to me, that sounds like they're going to either franchise tag him again next year. Like, I don't know that they're interested in a long-term deal with him because he basically said, like, it's not like we're lost without him.
Yeah,
he said them, but CD signed.
Them.
Right. I think it's an awesome quote. Would you take it again? Hell yeah. Can they be better? I think they can. It's all sounding good. And then he's like, oh, and also, it's not like we're really naked without him. So, you know, it's kind of like, it's almost like he's like pre-qualifying. If we don't get this done, we're going to be okay. So maybe
exactly
they are
right.
trying, but they may not be very close. And, you know, it sort of sounds like he's kind of like, by the way, we'll be okay without him. Just, you know, putting everyone at ease. So I don't know. I mean, you're right, Law. There is more money now after the Quinnen move. I'm just curious to know. And I don't know that I can make any sort of assumptions beyond that. But I'm just curious to know what he means by that.
Well, this is what I want to add to Garrett, and as well as Ari. I want to look at it like this. The Cowboys made this mistake before. They had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, and they was looking at it like, hey, we got CeeDee Lamb now. We don't need an Amari Cooper. No, you know, you want to look at this like you want to be dominant and listen to what CeeDee Lamb is saying. Whatever it takes, make sure that we keep GP. And that should be the battle cry. So I think that the Cowboys are going to look back at this and say, man, this GP, he's phenomenal. You know, he was at practice today causing all type of problems and fits out there for the Rams. And I look at it like this. Let's continue to have those problems for the opposing team. And the best way that can happen will be to keep GP and CD on the same side. So let's the Cowboys learn from their mistakes. Don't can one for another, and let's keep both of these guys together.
Can always count on you to bring us back to earth and keep us positive, Law. I appreciate
love
that.
it.
Yeah.
And look,
Yeah.
I'm with you. And again, like, if there's people watch this, they're like, they just don't have the money to do it. They're spending $94 million a year on CD and Dak. In the NFL, you can always kick the can down the road. Anybody that tells you can't is not paying attention. Other teams do it. The Rams are consistently doing it. A lot of other teams, successful organizations, are doing it because, again, the NFL's business model is flawless. Their television revenue has insane growth, and their salary cap is tied directly to their revenue, and their operating revenue is tied directly to their television deal. And the last television deal is twice as much as the previous one, and my guess is the next TV deal will be twice as much as the previous one.
A safe bet.
So you're basically borrowing against tomorrow on a stock that cannot go down. It would be impossible for that stock to decrease.
And Ari, I want to bring this up too because a lot of times we do get satisfied real quickly. In 2023, LVE went down before the trade deadline, and we were still winning games. And the Cowboys thought that, hey, we don't really need to go get a linebacker because we are still blowing out teams, winning games. But is it sustainable? Right? So when people say, yeah, we will be okay without a Max Crosby or we will be okay without a GP for the foreseeable future, they are right. We will win games, regular season games. But if you want to win deep into the postseason, make sure you have the star-studded teams and the star-studded players to go with that. So, yes, keep GP, keep this team. Don't be satisfied with the extra money that we got. Let's go get some more playmakers, even though I love the way we are moving, but I'm not satisfied. Let's continue to push for these extra guys.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the right sentiment. And like you said, like that is an offense that is impossible to counter. And so teams get outside their comfort zone through their game planning the week to try to account for that. You know, they're going to do exotic things. They're looking at different creative ways. Like as soon as you do that, from an offense, you've got a defensive coordinator in game week trying to move things around and change up a defense. You're winning.
Yeah.
You're winning.
100%. They're fighting an uphill battle. Not to say that it's impossible to stop, but they're fighting an uphill battle from Monday when game planning starts on.
Here's my main question on this. Why do the Cowboys really like working with Nicole Lynn, and why do they not like working with David Mulugeta? Like, this deal gets done with Nicole Lynn, it's like easy as pie. Like, and you're thinking, like,
I
how
should
do the
have
Cowboys
stayed
do
an
this?
extra day when she came out there to Oxnard. It was like, okay, she's your queen. You know, she's going to be the person that can really sit Jerry or Steven down and get the job done. And she did just that real quickly, like with Swift. And I love it, you know.
And look, she's attractive and she's very good at her job, but I've also heard Jerry's a very good negotiator. It can't just be that, can it?
Sometimes things are just that simple.
For some reason,
indeed.
Jerry has an issue with David Mulugeta, but no issues with Nicole Lynn. I don't know what it is, but hey.
She's the closer, you know.
She's the closer. All right, Law, what do you have coming up on your channel today?
Most certainly, we're going to re-talk about what's going on with the joint practices, and then we're going to talk about these clips, no clips, because there's a real divide in Cowboys world about this. Keep in mind, just for all of those who say, hey, we need to not show clips so we can win the Super Bowl. Well, the Jets don't show clips, the Giants don't show clips, and they're now winning no Super Bowl, or they're now making a deep playoff run. So which one is it? You know, so I get it, though. I understand. I love the Cowboys, and I'll do anything and everything for us to win. But let's not make this the reason why we haven't won in 30 years or 30 seasons. Because we're showing clips. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, 100%. If people think the reason the Cowboys haven't been to a Super Bowl since the 90s is because of training camp videos, have I got an answer for you? That is, genuinely one of the most outrageous things I've ever heard. If people think that, I think there's probably a bunch of reasons. There's certainly one that we can all point to. It's pretty obvious. That has nothing to do with filming training camp.
So far as you know.
Yeah.
So far as you know.
That's it. It's because Jerry allows for the filming of training camp. That's what
That's
it is.
the spin zone.
Love it. And then before we let you go, do you have any thoughts on the observations from camp today? We know that Blue had a fumble, and I want to get your thoughts on that too. Like, that's been a problem for him. Is this how problematic is this for you guys? He seems unreliable.
Some people just can't hold on to the ball. You know, Tiki Barber was one of those guys way back in the days, many a moons ago. But I look at it like this: if it's worth the actual price, because the boy is just so fast out there. So let's work on that. Let's not run him through A or B gap. Let's bounce him to the outside and tell him, hey, Blue, get out of bounds when you get the yards, man. We need that speed out there. But I don't like Cavante Turpin with the ball sometimes. He like to play basketball with the football. So with those smaller running backs or wide receivers, let's not put them in positionings like that. But, yeah, he's going to have to hold on to that ball, though, you know.
At some point, the coaches are just not going to trust him holding on to it. I mean, you know, it's a matter of – it's just like Law said. I mean, it's a matter of risk-reward. He is supremely talented with it in his hands. He's shown, you know, back to his career at Texas last year and then early in training camp this year that he is lightning in a bottle. But
he's also shown in his career that he can put the ball on the carpet.
Turnovers are the number one cause of losing football games. So, you know, if he has 7 touches a game and he fumbles one of them, that's a huge problem. Yeah. All right. Make sure to check out Law Nation's channel. And, of course, all the great content with Law here on Haymaker Network. Make sure to like and subscribe if you've not yet already. Thanks, of course, to Law Nation. Thanks to Nick Harris. Thanks to John Machota, who joined us today. Thanks to Garrett Gilbert. I'm Ari Tepkin. This has been another Start Time here on the Haymaker Network. We're back on Thursday at 3, but for now we're out. Peace.
Security at the Haymaker Network is provided by Smith Thompson. Secure your home now at smiththompson.com.
Iron Balls!